I couldn't understand before, like, why is Sicily that small that they can't even meet towards the end? That I realized they're gossipers, like real village style.
This is the Two African Girls Review podcast,
where we review black and brown film, TV, and more.
We are back with another review, and I'm talking about the show From Scratch on Netflix. And in this review, we are sharing our thoughts, what made us cry, what made us laugh, what made us happy, what made us sad.
This show, we found out, had a lot of women behind the scenes, and we could tell while we were watching. It's produced by Hello Sunshine. It's a production company by Reese Witherspoon. We have our cast, faces that we know. We have Zoe Saldana. She's the lead. We also have Lino, who is played by Eugenio Mastrandrea. If I'm butchering these names, I'm sorry. We have Zora, who is played by Danielle Deadweiler, then Lynn Kelita Smith, Idalia, Isla Colbert, Herschel, Keith David, we all know him, Maxine, Judith Scott, Giacomo, Paride Benasai, Filomena, Lucia Sardo.
If you want to know more about the directors and writers behind each episode of this production, check out our show notes.
I think we should also mention that this is based on a book. It's a memoir written by Tembi Locke, and she was also part of the team that brought us this show. So, let us get into it.
You know what? Let's give you a backstory. We had just finished watching Love is Blind, and we were so pissed because everybody knows reality TV is chaotic. We didn't plan on watching this show, is what I'm saying.
Yes.
Like,
the new season of Love is Blind, right?
Yeah, the new season. So when the credits of Love is Blind were rolling, we just started seeing this show, and then we remembered we had seen a picture of it on Twitter.
And somebody had recommended it.
So we're like, oh, okay, since we're here, we might as well, because we thought it was another cheesy Italian rom-com.
We thought it's like
all the rom-coms that have come before.
Love and Gelato, we thought it was like Emily in Paris, but like with a black woman lead.
So we're already like, yeah, let's see what this is about.
The cover too. The cover is so cheesy.
That is true. You would never guess that this is the story. Like the roller coaster it takes you on, you would never guess. I guess don't judge a book by its cover.
Yeah.
So we got into the show without really any expectations. We're just like, yeah, let's watch and see what this is about.
Because we like romance.
By the time we finished watching this show, I had a headache and I had to go to bed early because I was just so drained. Anyway.
Earliest sleep on a weekend.
On a weekend, mind you.
Man, the show drained me. What? And it's not like in a bad way, but it's like, you know.
Like, this is too much.
The show starts with Amy. Amahle is a law student at Georgetown.
Mm-hmm.
And she's in Italy.
I think as an exchange student or something.
Yeah, she's studying art. It seems like her main interest is in art.
Mm-hmm.
So she's there to do art.
For the summer, I guess.
Yes, and then she's working under the table at a bar and restaurant, I believe. And while she's there, she meets...
Wait, she has a boyfriend who is, I guess, an art gallery owner?
He looks like he has money. After watching this, we're like, oh, we need to find ourselves Linos. I gotta have an American passport for that. Will they give you a visa?
We need to go to the magical land of Sicily.
So while she's there, she meets this guy and they bump into each other and it's Lino. He's a good-looking actor, not gonna lie.
From then on, it's like they keep meeting. He has a restaurant and he invites her.
Yeah.
He invites her and her roommates, housemates, who I think are also American students.
Yeah.
And he cooks for them this extravagant meal.
You can see they're interested in each other. Mm-hmm. So remember when he asks, come have a meal at the restaurant? It's like, I have a boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
like those things of, is that a problem?
And so?
And then he even finds her a bike.
He steals a bike.
He steals a bike for her. That was like...
If he stole it from the rich, I support.
At that moment, I was just like, yeah, when that part was playing, I was on the phone.
Really?
Yeah, I wasn't really paying attention because I was like, another rom-com, okay. They just diversified it, I guess.
I was paying mad attention because I'm like,
Okay.
love story. After watching Love is Blind, nonsense. I was trying to believe in love again.
Love is Blind is annoying. Anyway, if you want to see our review of Love is Blind, you can go to our Twitter and find our tweets.
We don't like review it like podcast.
We just write
live tweet.
Live tweet, yeah.
I cannot dedicate time for that.
It's foolishness.
Yeah. This one though, this show.
Yeah, all right, let's continue then.
And she's smart. Who turns down a good meal? He cooks, guys. That's just hot, period. The bar, now women, we need to stand up. A man cooks and you're gone?
You also cook. What's the difference?
Who's going for me? She goes to the restaurant with her friends, they eat, and there's like a bit of denial of feelings.
Yeah, like
you can see they like each other.
There, yeah. But then I think she's thinking, I'm in a relationship already with this other guy.
Yeah, and I think she's not so sure like where she's headed, future-wise plans and so forth, because she knows her father does not approve of her career path in the arts. She's in a tough spot. Towards the end, is it Lino who confronts her?
Yeah, he says, what are we?
What are we?
We are what we are. Anyway.
One thing I noted in this show, I will not say that they're like direct, but they're good at communicating.
That is so true. That was one of the things that it's like you could tell that they were intentional with their communication.
Yes, and I like that he came after her art showing and he asked her to clarify what is going on. Like, what is this? And she's hesitant. She asks him to come to her place at a certain time. And I think he's kind of like, not again. Is she just making me move around again? Postponing, ever clarifying. But I think it's because she had things to attend to. And she's unsure if he's going to... We're also unsure when we're watching. Like, oh no, are they going to resolve this? Are they going to clarify what they are? And it happens at the end.
Yeah, they have a rain kiss. Even then, I was still like, yeah, I was sorry out.
You were not invested yet.
I was not invested yet, to be honest.
So that means we have to watch that part again to enjoy the romance. Because let me tell you, this show, they're wicked. They only give us like 2 episodes romance. Next, violence.
I will definitely watch this again. But yeah, they did have a rain kiss. And then
it was so beautiful.
Yeah.
In that time, what kind of was she wearing like a flat iron hair? Was she wearing a wig?
It doesn't matter.
She kissed the man in the rain.
Love conquers all. That's all that matters.
Your flat press being messed up for love.
Hey.
Anyway, for a man like Lino, I understand.
I watched an interview on the Tamron Hall show where they were interviewing the actress whose name is Tembi Locke, whom the story is based. So this is a true story
It's inspired by a memoir
by an actress called Tembi Locke. And in one of the questions the host was asking her, I found out that the rain kiss scene was actually shot in the actual place that the actual events happened. So I was like, wow, a special project. Because then...
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
A lot of the showrunners were black women too. That was so nice. There's a way you always feel when...
You could tell that the show had a lot of...
There's love and care.
It's a very wholesome show.
In behind the scenes, I could feel it. Like the little things, like the corn dog.
Something he discovered and he's like, this tastes really good.
Well done. Storytelling. I think they did the memoir justice. I could feel like this is someone's life.
Yeah, but they do say again in that interview. So the sister joined and she said the sister convinced her to make it into a show. And she's one of the people who adapted it for TV.
Oh, yeah. So the writer herself is involved in
the sister, yeah. So it was a family project, and you can tell there was a lot of detail. They were very careful to make sure that the details were accurate to the writer. Yeah. We move on to episode 2.
Lino and Amahle, they have like some long distance happens for a year and some months. And he finally moves to LA. So this episode is about him adjusting to life in LA, and trying to find his footing.
And he works at the restaurant. The food they were serving looks, like when you want to make pasta, but the sauce curdles. Anyway, the food was not appetizing
at all.
And you can see that because he kept on questioning them, like, guys, this is horrible. And they're like, we know, but we have to anyway. So like you could see that his spirit was down. And for someone who is a chef, I think he was itching to like make something, do something. Obviously, the restaurant owner would not even let him do that because that's not part of their business plan.
And he was working under the table.
And they're living with a sister. And remember,
Zora.
Yeah, and there was a part where somebody was making noise. Remember while they were in bed? And
it must have been uncomfortable because is it in this episode that we see Lino going to meet another Italian restaurant to interview for a job?
Yes.
And then we find out that Sicilians and Italy mainland people do not get along that well. I love that this show
got into the
nuances of nationality.
It's everywhere in every country.
It is.
Because
it's like you don't know.
Yeah.
They know.
That is so true. Because obviously we do have ethnic groups, but within the country, and we usually identify ourselves with those groups. But even among those groups, there's some groups that are regarded as less than others. And so we could definitely relate to the Sicilian part because he went to the US. He thought he was probably... No, but he knew.
He knew it. It is when... Remember, it's Amy who got him the link.
And I think in Amy's mind, she's like, you're both Italians.
You're going to work this out.
Yeah. But then he reaches there and this guy, he obviously knows he's talented and he can probably do the job well.
He probably knew from his name or accent.
He was a Sicilian and because of that, he denied him the job. Like, that happens.
I could relate to that 100%.
Anyway, so they don't give him a job. You know, I kept on secretly wishing, like, in the future episodes that they would show us Lino with his fancy restaurant and he's like, who's laughing now?
Man. Also, I don't think he would show off. He has, like, a very humble spirit. You can see that while he is, trying to adjust to life in LA, I think what helps them is the good communication they have.
Again, we've gone back to communication.
They really have great communication. You can see she understands what's happening. He's also very understanding of the situation they're in. Of course, that does not mean that there is no frustration. Like when they have the Thanksgiving dinner. I was so pissed. Man's cooked food,
That was so sad. I was like, why are they not eating the food?
I was so angry. I wanted to enter screen and eat the food.
And it's not like they don't. It's not like it's not that the food is bad.
I understand.
It's just that they're not used to it.
Yes.
That's not their usual Thanksgiving fare.
I like the way Amy explained why they did not eat the food. Where she said it's things they are attached to, tradition. It's not that they don't want to eat your food. I like the way she approached that.
Yeah.
I was pissed though. Like, why are they not eating the food? I felt bad for him.
Yeah.
Because I think he was trying to do his best.
And he knows he has to impress these people, you know?
Yes.
Because when you're living in a house that is not yours, in a country that's not yours, you're going to do everything to try and win their favor. So, like, for them to reject it, that must have hurt.
Because Amy is already not doing law. She moved to LA. After moving to LA, she has brought some random Italian man to live with her. They're living with Zora, the sister. I don't know. There's this thing of like, you don't even have the capacity to support yourselves. Because that's the same
they
scene.
Do have that conversation. Remember after the dinner, the father gives her money?
Because he's really feeling shitty. And the father tries to give money and he's like, your father probably thinks I can't take care of you, his daughter. And I think he's really feeling bad because the job is not coming through. They didn't eat his food after. Cooking is hard. Everybody's new to him. He has never met the family except that one time in Italy. And that was a disaster.
Remember when they tried to kiss the father?
That was
and he's
so
like,
funny.
What are you doing?
It's giving an African man. Try to make another man kiss her. Whoa!
No, but you know what?
Depends on the country you're from.
Yeah.
Some kiss.
Some
Rwandese people.
Some hold hands.
Somali.
Even. Some hold hands even.
That is true. Some hold hands and then in other places are like, why are you holding hands? Damn, people are socialized different. It's a mess because when you realize it's really socialization at the bottom. Kiss the person, no?
So she was feeling bad that he is feeling bad because obviously he's alone. I mean, he has her, but then again, he has nothing attaching him to his home.
Right. I like that they portrayed like, yes, you can be in a relationship, But, putting the responsibility of your social life, like they're your best friend,
On your
they're
partner.
your partner,
Yeah.
they're your romantic, that's a lot.
She takes him to a place where there are other fellow Italians.
Yeah,
And
that was really sweet.
They're playing games, watching TV, football.
Yes.
And that was really nice. Like, that was such a sweet... And the way they share glances. Oh, my God.
Yes, their glances are so cute.
Right, so eventually she proposes to him and he says yes.
Yes.
And that was...
I never support women getting down on knee. I'm always like, stand up, my girl, stand up. This one I support.
And then he agrees, and that was so sweet.
He let her out to dance.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, this sounds almost like fiction.
First of all, this man is a fictional man. I mean...
He seems fictional, does he not?
Yeah, like, where do you find a man whom you will propose to and he will say yes?
What a love.
Before episode 3, we find out that the father of Lino they're both estranged from each other because the father is angry that his son left him and therefore he disgraced him.
He was giving African dad 100%.
But you know what? It makes sense. It's like going to hang out with those people who don't like you.
Okay, they're trying to keep tradition going.
Yeah.
But my man not only goes to the city mainland, he also goes with a girl to America.
Do you know what this made me think of? Interracial relationships?
Yeah.
What happens where you're both minorities from where you come from? Because, we saw that when they were trying to negotiate for the villa.
I liked how they put that in.
I think they were trying to touch on that because she literally refused to give them the villa.
They do it a lot in this show. It must have been
a very tough thing.
Yes. It must have been something significant.
Because I'm imagining if Lino had gone with, let's say, a blonde American, would they still have denied them that place?
No. The likelihood would have been less.
It really made me think, how do interracial couples that are from minority groups
or like marginalized groups,
yes, how do they navigate the world? Because on both ends,
they don't like you.
Because even in the US, we only talk to family. And then she's like, I am his family. And I think in their minds, they could not fathom that. And then in Sicily, they'll be like, this black girl is your spouse? You get?
Yes.
It's really tough.
And I find that they were able to see or understand each other from that. I think it's something that they connected on. Because the way her family is treated in Sicily and the way they treated him, there's like
an understanding,
an embracing of a person.
Do you think that's why he was... Okay, maybe that's just his character. Like he had a
gentle spirit
to him, yes. Both in Italy and in the US.
Yes. Whatever they tried to portray, the actor did
good.
A good job.
Everybody was really great.
And I love the way they talk. Very honest and very gentle with each other. Really gentle.
Again, communication.
You know how Lino felt so out of place? But Amy was able to be there as support. She did the work of finding people he could link up with to start his own community. And I really loved that because I realized that this happens to women a lot. This is like actually like roles reversed.
That is so
Women
true.
leave their homes,
go to faraway lands,
people they know, and go to faraway lands.
It's a tough thing to do.
It is. And if you don't have a supportive partner like Amahle did, it will be rough.
Because depression sets in.
Resentment, for sure. And if there's no open communication, I realize we're watching a reverse of what women go through.
Yeah, because we're in disbelief. We're like, this man left his career and followed her to America.
Shoot.
Like, we're so used to it being the women who leave everything and follow the man. And he followed her even not knowing. Like, she didn't even have a stable job.
No, she didn't, because she had just dropped out of law school.
Yo, that's some next level faith, man.
It is.
But that's what I'm saying. Do we treat it as such a big sacrifice because it's a man who did it?
But see, they showed us how to do it right.
The
support.
communication, though, their communication alone is just so amazing.
We know where we come from as Ugandans. The whole country is built on being vague.
We move on vibes.
We really move on vibes.
So when you see a healthy communication like this,
People being direct, sharing what they're feeling, listening to what another person is telling them.
remember the part where she said, okay, maybe I'm jumping ahead. The part where she got 2 offers
Yes.
from
Oh,
the art center and from the gallery. I was like, oh my God, how is she going to tell him this? But I was so shocked.
it was very easy
It
for her
was so
to come
easy
up.
for her to say that if I take this job, we're going to keep the pop-ups you're doing are going to continue.
Yeah.
If I take this job, my dream is going to be fulfilled. Usually people don't say that part.
Yes.
That was so
It was-
amazing.
And he was like, I don't want you to be unhappy.
Like you could say that they both
They consider
their dreams.
and their feelings and how the other
Mhm.
person is doing. Oh,
Sigh.
love like that.
If only.
We're supposed to be
Mm.
talking about a wedding. Good Lord. Remember when Lino called Giacomo, his father, to
Mhm.
tell him, I'm engaged. He was so excited and the father killed his spirit.
This dad.
Guy, if you're like a person who listens to this podcast, we rant about dads a
And
lot.
parents in general.
Yeah.
Like he's trying to reach out to you, but you'd rather throw that away just so that you can save face.
But remember how the honor system goes. And I love that they put this in. You can't control your family. Community is not going to respect you.
Damn.
They have the wedding. The family of Lino does not show up. We start to see the beginnings of a bond between Lino and Herschel, who is Amachle's father. It was beautiful to see.
Yeah. But you know what I liked? Philomena, though. I love her. Remember when
see-
she became petty? She's
Yeah,
like,
that's
I'll
the
not give
thing.
you food.
It's so funny. You see the communication difference between
Yeah.
what her son and Amachle have, and then how she communicates with her husband. He's unable to listen to her, so she
It's like,
resorts
what?
to what is she left with?
Being
Passive-aggressive.
passive-aggressive. Yeah.
And I like to see petty Philomena. Even when we say petty, is she being petty? Giacomo deserves it.
Because that's the only way she can show her grievance.
And yeah, imagine and she put the rock in his bed and she didn't give him the sauce for his
His
spaghetti.
food, yeah.
That alone was enough to make her feel bad that she went to confess to the
Do
priest.
you know,
I'm sorry, men are not confessing.
for the things they're doing,
Women are so religious. You know, you're so oppressed. What do you turn to? Remember, they've already moved you from your friends, family. You really have no one to rant to. You're in a random place. You're going to go to church. Pray to God.
damn.
And they tell you your reward is in heaven.
Anyway, that's a topic for another day.
And this is like transcontinental, I've realized.
I guess all mamas everywhere. Anyway, the wedding was so nice. The mom, though. Yo. She was talking about Zora. She's like, you're gonna give me brown babies. And she was the first one to even notice an Italian man.
Can you
when
believe
they-
it? They touched on internal family issues.
Yeah.
What are the names of the mom?
Maxine and the other one was Lean. So Lean is the mother of the girls and Maxine is the stepmom.
Let's say that Maxine, Lean, and Herschel have issues.
Yeah.
And you can see that
The relationship that Zora
and Amy
have.
with their parents, it's shaky. Do you know what it gave? When 2 siblings or children grow up with adults who have issues going on, they form a bond
To raise themselves.
to raise themselves. That's what
Damn.
Zora and Amahle gave. You could see that a lot of times they have to be the adults in the situation when their parents are having their squabbles. I also noticed something. Lynn would be very, she'd throw jabs, just here and there, directed at Herschel and Maxine. And I noticed a lot of the times, Herschel was never confronted. Let the women fight type thing. And he's kind of like excluded.
I mean,
But I
he's
didn't-
the common denominator in their life.
Exactly.
So,
It kind of like reflected what happens in real life.
yeah.
I love that Lino really stood his ground. He was very firm in making sure that they recognize Amy as his wife. You could see it hurt him. It was hurting him, but he's like, you know what? If they don't recognize you, to
It's
see
their
them.
loss.
Yeah.
But she was also feeling the pain because I think she's like,
Yeah.
do you know some people believe that it's a bad omen when things like this happen?
Oh, yeah?
Like, I need my parents' blessing or else something horrible might happen.
Mm-hmm.
Could she have been thinking that? Because she's still even behind his back.
I don't think it's because she believed that. I think it was more of she could see his pain and she's like, at least let him see his mother and sister and niece. Giacomo, man, really?
So Philomena and the sister managed to actually come and see him.
With the help of the priest.
That priest is not going to heaven.
I couldn't understand before, like, why is Sicily that small that they can't even meet towards the end? That I realized they're gossipers, like real village style.
Did you see when they were like, we need to enter the doctor's house?
Yeah.
And then they met, and then you could see the mom. She's so heartbroken.
Yeah.
But you could also see that there's nothing she can do about it.
Giacomo calls all the shots.
Remember the part where they randomly found a man in the market and he gave them a cake to take back home?
Yeah, and I could understand very well.
Definitely. I do get it.
Yeah, you know Gundi from Gundi?
And then they give you a phone number. Call them to meet you at the bus station.
Yeah, and just give them this.
But I have a gunia of matoke for you from Fort Porto. Maybe that's why Amy could not understand it. She's like, what? Why are we getting a cake from a random man to take to another random person in Hollywood?
Then he's like, he's Sicilian. That means they're very tight-knit.
Yeah. Like, I understood that part, but I also understood why she wouldn't understand it.
Yes. Remember the part where they were frustrated? Like, he didn't really know if the family was coming or not. Then they just started to make out. Nana was like, yeah, go on, just have sex. Did we
But
see?
that sex was very hot.
Yes. Listen. Every time they made out, I was like, yeah, go on, right ahead, go on. There's very few couples I always cheer on to just fuck. Episode 4 is when we have our newlyweds and they're back in LA.
They have a house of their own.
Yeah, they've moved out of Zora's place.
The garden is really nice.
So they can do whatever they want to do as loudly as they want. They don't have to clash. Because Lino stayed home a good chunk of time. And he was kind of clashing with Zora. So by the time they move out though, Zora and him are developing
a relationship.
Yeah. Because I think at first she was a bit skeptical, like, what the hell?
Who is this man? And Zora has a boyfriend. So they do have their own house. They're having a brunch.
Yes.
Like an outside dinner. That was so nice.
The owners of the house that they're tenants under are really friendly,
yeah,
seems.
Very, very friendly. And then the sisters, do you remember the cake? I was like, oh, they really carried the cake.
Yeah, they did.
Only to open it, they were like, what kind of... Probably they didn't understand what kind of cake it was.
Yeah, they never told us the name too, did they? When we were younger, remember how the cakes used to be? They pack a cake for the relatives. It can stay a year. It has rum in it.
Some, they even stay longer because I remember they would say, eat this cake when you have your first child.
And then if you don't have, that's pressure, bro.
Did it imply that eat it within a year, as in within a year you should have a child?
That's a subtle way of saying get to it.
Also, if it's me, I'll eat it that night. Yeah, so they're in LA and Amy has...
Job offers.
Multiple job offers.
It's going well for her at the art gallery. They meet this person and he's the head of an art center. And he sees how she interacts
with the children.
And he's like, yeah, we need somebody, would you be interested? She starts volunteering there and he offers her a position.
Yeah.
Of course, it pays less than the gallery and they really need the money. It's like a non-profit, I believe.
And that's where they had that conversation.
Yes. Elena sits her down to ask, could we use the savings that we have for, I want to try a pop-up.
And that's because the restaurant which was serving that mediocre food
closed down.
Yeah. So he uses that same place to do the pop-up and it works. Because even when they were having that conversation, he said, you don't have to stay at the gallery. You can actually go and pursue your passion, because I think he knew that he doesn't need money from her anymore.
Yes. Not he doesn't really need money from her.
Like, okay, so it's successful enough to support itself and still have enough money to live.
Yeah, so during the pop-up. Yeah. So remember, they're introducing him
to the mom.
Oh my God, and the questions she asks. Let's just say Lynn does not beat around the bush. Even what does she want to know his STD status for? You see again, that thing comes in. You can see how they have to do a lot of moderating for their parents. Because Zora asks Amahle for assistance. in like tempering their mom. And during the event, Amahle is called away. And you can see Zora is upset. And right then, we don't really understand why. We're like, why is she upset? It's not that big of a deal. She was playing hostess.
Until they have that conversation.
Yeah. It is in that scene, before they open for the pop-up, Lino is saying, I could eat you. That was really hot. We love a man who eats. They have very good chemistry as well. The actors really, they did the job.
They leaned in.
Because, we have forgotten that part. When have we ever had a problem generating heat? Ooh, good Lord. That's after they had communicated that, we both can be able to follow our dreams. I was like, what a love. Now, moving on. While he's standing up, he knocks his knee. I don't think much of it.
Oh, so that's where it starts.
Yeah.
Amy goes to Zora's house saying his knee is acting up and we need the doctor of Ken. So they go to this doctor, they run some tests, and then he tells them that they have a rare form of cancer.
But when she goes to ask for the doctor something,
oh yeah,
that's when we understand why Zora was so upset.
The relationship they have.
Yes.
That means Zora has had to do...
Parentification.
I'm imagining Zora is the eldest daughter.
Yes, she's older. Having parents like Herschel and Lynn with their passive aggressiveness. Imagine when they were in a relationship. That means Zora had to do a lot of growing up really quick. And I think she feels Amahle does not really see her as a sister. I think she took on the mother role, really.
Makes so much sense when we saw that conversation, because then you could see even in the past, it's like she housed them.
Yes. Not
like basically a big sister. Like
no, it's beyond a big sister.
Like she relates to her as somebody who will always bail her out of situations.
Exactly. What like a parent would do, really.
So that conversation was very insightful.
Yeah, oh my goodness. One thing about this story was not only just about two people in love. It was also about sisterhood. It was about family. It was about community. I love that they added this part. That conversation was rough. Like how Amahle was also shocked. That's how I was. I was like, what? Because you can see it is something that has never crossed her mind. Because for a lot of black women, you play supporting character in people's lives.
A lot of times. That is so true.
I think the part that is even making us like, wow, to even see that there's a love like what Amahle has with Lino. She's not playing supporting character to his life.
No.
It is a partnership.
It doesn't feel like it's a one-sided relationship.
Like I respect you for who you are as a person, and the other person does the same. I really understood the pain that Zora had.
The only time you came was
when you need something. So a person like Zora, she was already a firstborn daughter. That's like suffering. Then you go and marry a man, but he's your firstborn. What kind of bullshit is that?
Since we're talking about this, Zora having to be the one to hold the fort down, I am glad that she was partnered with Ken, because remember towards the end when he said, you need to rest, you're pregnant, and you're busy running around taking care of everyone. Who is taking care of you? That's when I realized, she really has a good partner. Because usually no one will even ask you if you're well, And again, I'm going to go back to the conversation they had in the interview with Tamron Hall. The sister was saying that as I was looking out for her, who is my sister, my husband was also looking out for me, and somebody else was looking out for him.
Community.
You can actually see that.
And I like that the writing is intentional about it.
At her wedding, Zora's wedding, that's when they found out that they're going to get a child. Some people would be pissed, but like she understood that their child right now is what matters. I was really like, damn, they must have a really good relationship, because some people, that becomes a grudge,
That's true. I feel like they had to give us this scene for us to understand them leaving at the wedding. And I liked that it is her who said, go get the child.
In episode 5, we see Lino's family. So Philomena and Giacomo come to LA to visit their son, and that's because they've been called
Yeah.
and told that Lino has a rare form of cancer and they're going to perform a surgery.
Lino requests Amy that they don't tell anyone for the time being.
Mm-hmm.
But then I think it all becomes really too much because you can see Amy is struggling with keeping this all away from her family because she needs the support. It's a lot. What happens is the restaurant closes down.
Yeah.
Because he's now sick and he has to deal with this cancer thing. The restaurant closes down. Zora and Amahle have not been speaking for weeks.
Yeah.
And she only finds out because she sees the restaurant is closed and she comes by to check on them. And he collapses.
Right.
That's how it all gets out.
And the whole family knows. They tell everyone.
They all come to LA because he has a big surgery coming up.
This dad.
They reach LA, driving up to the house. The man does not enter the house. The stubbornness is so African, dad. It takes death. Some even they die like that.
This man traveled all the way from where? Sicily. Only to stop by the door?
He starts working on the plants.
So for him to express his love is to just go into the garden?
When my grandma comes over, I remember on her most recent visit. It's like her way of communicating is doing things.
Yeah, actually.
So she's also a farmer. The moment she came over, she started farming. You always see those tweets. African moms don't apologize. They just start cooking. Are you hungry? And for Philomena, her way of coping with whatever was happening is cooking.
She went into the kitchen right away and then she cooked only to find out he can't even eat the food she's cooking.
Giacomo is so annoying. He came and saw the food. It's like, I'm gonna eat.
And he's like, they don't have cheese. He's so used to Philomena taking care of him.
You could see it from episode 3. She even said it when she was really upset. I take care of you. I do not complain. And I just want to see my son at his wedding. And you refuse me this? How is Lino so different from his dad?
How did Lino develop such good communication skills?
Maybe he's like, I don't want this life.
Because I feel like half of the issues they had with the dad, if they had actually had a conversation, none of these issues would be there.
Yeah. Communicate. The man went to cut roses, uproot plants.
Just say, I love you, son.
Some people in our lifetime, especially if you're an African, you will never hear an I love you from the lips of your parents. If you have, guy, I am happy for you. Me, I have made peace. I might never hear it.
Have you died?
I'm dying inside. The surgery goes well.
Thankfully.
I love how the family was together.
All of them
were there for her.
Even the
landlords.
Yeah.
They were also there. That's true. The part that I start to feel the heaviness when Philomena goes into the chapel to pray. I told you, I don't really know why women are not the worship leaders or the spiritual leaders. Men usually are because it's a career and it makes them money. Women do it free. I start to see that Giacomo is actually afraid when he joins her in prayer. This is when I knew this is not a romance. They lied to me.
The part where after they left the hospital, he's recovering, they're back at home. The TV part, that was so nice.
Everybody in the house.
Yeah, and they're trying to fix the TV. That was so funny. That was so realistic.
I really feel like this was a star episode for Philomena. That part where they first arrive, Philomena is in the kitchen, then she goes to her son and she sings to him. That's when I started bawling. I was gone.
Aww. And it's so funny because Philomena is speaking Italian.
Oh, that's true.
Amy had to translate. Everybody's just speaking. A few people are understanding. But it felt very nice, like the full house.
It felt very familiar. You know, like when there's so many people in the house.
I also remember the part where the father went to buy bread.
That was so funny. Funny thing, he was also Italian.
The man, yeah.
And you could see the shade.
He's giving this air of, you're fresh from the village, I've been here longer.
Okay.
I don't want to associate with you. But he was right. Remember the part where he said, what else do you have? A butcher in here?
And
why is everything in one shop? And then even then, the man who was at the counter, he's like, can I help you? I don't think he thought she was with him.
Oh, that's true. Saying that's her father-in-law.
Yeah. They have to explain themselves a lot to people.
Yes.
Which is annoying.
Giacomo enters the house, eventually and sits in the same chair with his son. Finally, it takes steps. First, he was only outside in the garden. Next, he sneaked up in the night to look at him through the door. It's like, my guy, you could literally just apologize.
And then at the hospital, after the surgery, he went to see him, remember? And he saw Herschel with him and they were laughing. I think that hurt him.
Yes. Either it hurt him or it hit him like, damn, I'm absent. He's forming other connections. It was painful to see, but also I like to see it.
Giacomo or not, he has family.
He has people who love him and care for him.
The part where they confront each other, that was when the sister was announcing that she is engaged.
Oh my God, that dinner was awkward.
Mr. Giacomo, auntie, congratulations!
So you can say congratulations
to this person you don't know, but your son.
I'm so glad Lino said nah, because I feel like Lino was like, you know what, I'm just gonna let it be.
But that's how they usually want it to be.
Yes,
like, they never talk about it, just let
it be there. Like, vibes.
It's good that they confronted it. And he just told him, like, I wanted a different life. But I guess the father was having a hard time accepting that.
He's an only son.
Yeah. Me, I thought he was the younger son because the sister has a baby. But then again, I remembered girls have children younger.
Yeah.
So.
With the whole legacy, continuing family lines, it's a farming family. Giacomo is like, I'm hurt that you left me. Remember there's that imagery that they show us in episode 3 where Giacomo is at the farm and he sees a son and father
across
interacting.
Bonding, and he's like, that could be me and my son.
But my son is off marrying some girl.
That must have hurt.
I see where he's coming from. But it is so restrictive on a person. You can't be anything else. Your life is predetermined for you. And Lino tells him that.
So I guess the father has to make peace with that then.
He really has to. And Lino is really like, look, I cannot fight you and fight this cancer at the same time. You have, again, I like how Lino is always firm on where he's standing. He said, you have to choose because I can't do both at the same time.
It's exhausting.
The episode ends with the father calling him son. I guess then he chooses to stop fighting him.
And then he tells them the roses are gonna be...
They will bloom much better.
Yeah.
In episode 6, we have their cancer-free years. He enters
the program,
clinical study. It's a blind study, and at first we are not sure if he actually got the placebo or he got the drug. Yeah. But later on we learned that he got the drug. And in this episode we kind of see them living their lives to the fullest in the time that they have. I like how they come to a point that, to just adopt.
Because he says, I wouldn't want to pass this on to the child. Not many people can come to terms with that fact.
Their communication, honestly, it is amazing.
And they all agree to have an adopted child.
Do you know, we actually never talked about this. And remember the part where she had to ask for the insurance?
That was so heartbreaking. Even the courage to go back after you left. Yeah. Her boss was understanding.
Access to healthcare should be for everyone. They have like this dinner after everything is much better and his cancer is gone. They give them money, remember? That was really sweet. I really loved the care that community around them had for them.
They really did. Ideally, this is what we hope the communities we have look like. Like you're there for me, I'm there for you. We are one big family.
Mutual aid.
Yeah.
Do you know it also takes a different kind of heart to accept that?
The money.
And the support people are giving you, especially living in a very hyper-individualized world as America.
And then they find out that their dad, Giacomo, passed away.
Damn, that's true.
Because I think they were calling to tell them they're coming to visit them.
You think so?
Remember, he was calling his mom, and then the mom broke the news to him. That was right after they had gotten the money.
Why was he calling?
I think to tell them
that the cancer, things are looking good. But the thing that comforts me is that they had started talking.
It would have hurt more if they were still.
It would have really hurt. Do you know another thing that I think inspired that? There's a way Philomena, it's a tiny thing if you're not really paying attention. The actress, I think, did a great job. When she was talking on the phone before they came to LA, you could see there was like a worry that she had. When she went back, like the conversations on the phone were more calm. I think when they came and they saw like our son is cared for, he is loved,
It settled her.
It settled their spirits a bit. He has people who love him. I would want to know that if I had a person I cared about and they were away. It makes me happy to know that they're cared for.
Mm-hmm.
His father is gone, and they do like a memorial.
The roses.
Yeah. Damn, Giacomo. Damn, what is Philomena gonna do? Like, she literally lived her life for him.
Yeah.
And it's not even like such a strange thing. A lot of women do that.
Yeah. And then you don't know what to do after.
Yeah, what do you do? And the house, funny enough, the house doesn't go to her. They go to her son.
So the child grows. She's so adorable.
Italia
oh my
Rose.
God. So they agree that she's going to be the breadwinner. She goes to work.
Right.
And then he stays home with her because he can no longer work in the kitchen. Oh my God, that part, it was so heartbreaking for me because I was thinking this man, he left his country to come and pursue his career, right? But
he had
now,
his dreams.
Yeah, he had a lot of dreams and he kept on saying, we're so young.
Yes.
I mean, he was really young actually.
Yeah, he really was young.
No, when you've not done your best, you've not exhausted your options.
Yeah.
There's a way you feel inside. You're like, oh, damn, I could be doing this. So I feel like he must have had a lot of internal work to do because without him being a chef, what is he really?
You can see him struggling with that, when he was going through his cancer treatments. Imagine how Amy was faring during this time.
Because she was taking care of the child.
Imagine going through this alone. And I think that's why they were very intentional in making sure this is not a story about Amahle and Lino only. It's a story about the community around them as well.
Do you think that's why they included the part where the landlord said, you can run?
Listen. I was like, what?
What kind of advice is that? I think he represents a group of people who don't think they have to stay.
It's been a conversation going on about how a lot of disabled people are abandoned by their partners. In the whole traditional way things go, look at the work Philomena used to do. She's literally there to look after Giacomo's children. If Philomena was disabled or had a sickness, she's no longer useful. The labor she was giving is not there anymore. She will be replaced.
Damn.
This happens in Uganda all the time.
Yeah. So then it was important for them to put that part because there are people who actually do that.
I think so. It's a very sensitive thing to talk about. Like, people never really talk about it. I'm so glad they did. There's a difference between saying that I know it is a lot of work to be a caregiver. You might want to get help. Maybe, like assistance in a care home or getting a caregiver. There's difference in saying that and saying deep. And I think he meant deep. You're in another country. You left your family behind, your friends. You're with a partner. You're at the beginnings of your relationship. You get disabled or you have a serious illness that requires constant care. You can see she was a bit taken aback. Like, this is a suggestion?
It's actually very questionable because then I'm wondering, this man, if his partner ever gets sick.
He said he had a partner who passed. I think he was referring to the AIDS crisis in the 80s and early 90s. I was wondering if he actually was insinuating that he dipped on his partner. That is wicked, bruv.
No, but I also got the impression that what he meant was it's going to be soul-sucking for you.
Okay.
So save yourself.
And then leave him? I will appreciate one thing. Him having this difficult conversation with her. No one has these conversations with women. These conversations are usually what people tell men in relationship.
I mean, at the end of the day, she made a decision to stay, and she did. Mr. Lino, remember when he's hanging out with the parents, the kids' parents?
Brigitte!
Yeah.
So we find out Lino, as time goes on, Lino is a bit of a famous dad.
Stay-at-home dad.
The parent-teacher conference mamas love him. I mean, he cooks. Who wouldn't like Lino? Look at the man. Communicates well, loves his wife, loves his child. He cooks. Need I say more?
Do you know what this reminds me of? This thing where women will express what Amy did, like, hey, why are you hanging out with your female friends, or
like who are openly flirting
with you, and you know it, they know it.
Did he know
I know it. I don't know if he knew it. And usually the comeback they have is, oh, so you're the jealous type, which kind of implies that they know it.
And they let it go on.
Yeah, and they're enjoying the fact that she is the jealous one now. And it always pisses me off.
Invalidating women's feelings.
Mm-hmm.
I really love that Lino heard what she said and he's like, okay, it won't happen again. So because he's a stay-at-home dad, obviously, because he's the parent who stays with the child most of the time, they have a really close relationship. And when you're watching, you can see that Amy feels like she's on the outside looking in.
I am happy that they actually addressed this.
This was very important.
And the fact that she, as a mom, was the one feeling that.
Dads, if you're a dad, let us know. Do you feel this?
Very common thing. Hassan said he feels it, except he wants the affection
from his wife. It's so weird.
Oh my God, no wonder they say take care of me.
I think this is very common in a lot of like Ugandan homes. While I was growing up, right, a lot of the relationships that we have, the age gaps is really wide. The man is usually like a whole lot of years older than the woman. And this is like in the old days. I don't know what's happening now. Probably not much change, but there's always a huge gap. And also difference. Like the men are usually established in careers. The women are not. You know, there's this whole thing of marrying girls from the village as a way of goodwill. I'm not going to get into that. It's odd, to say the least. And one thing is, you have a mother who is young herself. She's growing. She probably looks for attention from her husband. But then she has a child. Usually husbands or the father, they connect more with their child. There's this whole thing where I come from of like, there's this bond that they believe they should have because the child is their blood or their offspring. I, as a child, have always felt there is a jealousy or a resentment towards me as a child for having the affections of my father and the attention of my father. Mind you, this is my feeling when I was a child growing up. They never talked about it. Like I said, we move on vibes in this country. It is there underneath and you feel like you're in some silent war with your mother. You don't really understand what's going on. I can't even explain. It's very strange. I am really glad that this show addressed this.
They went there.
In the conversation with Zora, she's telling her, I feel so shitty for feeling angry or jealous of the relationship my daughter has with my husband.
And she kept on saying, I should be happy for them. And I like that she actually went and talked to him about it.
Yes.
Again, communication.
She questioned, why do I feel this way?
And they were able to come to a resolution because that's when they decided that he can teach cooking classes and she can have time with the child and pursued painting.
That conversation was, I think, one of my favorites.
Mm-hmm. Basically, all the parts where they are interacting and having conversations about hard topics.
How many times do you see people in a partnership saying, I'm not happy, and the other person listening and not making it about themselves? So that's how you know a show is written by women.
So as the days go by, the mom stays home more. She has more time with the child now after they had that conversation. Mm-hmm. And then you start to see Lino kind of starts to notice.
Yeah.
It's like he slowly notices that the cancer is coming back.
He feels more tired. Mm-hmm. Oh gosh, I start to panic. He's
coughing. Remember when they were eating the, what are they called? Corn dogs? Mm-hmm. And he coughed, and then they thought, it's just a cough. No, he even said it. He's like, no, it's just something went the wrong way.
Yeah, but I think he knows.
Deep down, I think he knew that it was back, and he didn't want to tell her. Mm-hmm. He even said it. He didn't want to tell her to stress her or to scare her. That dance was so emotional because I think we all felt it. We're like, the cloud is coming. It's looming over them.
Yeah, she knew, and he knew she knew. Oh, the dance. It's like, what if you fall? Then I fall.
Yeah.
I'm not going to start crying. Okay.
Not you crying again? Listen, episode 7 was heavy. Oh my God.
The cancer is back.
It is back and it is more aggressive than ever. He collapses or becomes unconscious while he's doing the treatment. While Zora is there, you can see that the family is distressed. The family in Texas comes.
And they do some organizing, like, who's going to be with the kid at this time. And you can see, like, this time it's harder because they have a child.
He even said it. I was not as worried before, but now I am because there's a child. Mm-hmm. There's so much I need to show her. Oh my God, that was so heartbreaking. And the kid kept on saying, when is Baba? Baba, when is he coming back home? Oh my God.
The child actor from these episodes
very
onward,
good.
I love.
She's so precious, but she's also really good.
Yeah.
Like, she fit in so seamlessly.
Yeah.
You wouldn't even think she's acting.
This is when things start to blur for me. I don't even see it as a reenactment. They start to seem like real people.
Like a real family.
Like people I'm watching, I'm just on the outside looking in on their lives.
But the frustration that the hospital gives them.
Oh my goodness. First, Amy having to explain whatever I am his wife and them not believing her. Zora saying that they come into the room, she's literally in a corner, nobody pays attention to her and they just talk to him. That was pissing me off.
And the changing of doctors every 5 minutes. And
Do
each
you
doctor,
know?
it's like each doctor is new and they don't know what's happening. They're just doing their...
You know?
It's like, oh my God.
Do you realize if Amahle never confronted them,
Yeah.
that would have gone on until he passed?
That is so true.
And
it's like if you don't have somebody to advocate for you, even something that can be easily fixed.
And I don't know why they kept making them do multiple tests when they knew he had almost no chance. They're making money off people.
You know the part where Amy runs to the parking lot to confront this doctor?
Yeah.
Even then, she doesn't tell him. They're probably protecting themselves legally, but oh my God.
If you're on like the caregiving end or if you're the patient, this is very upsetting. Imagine how they were feeling in that time.
You know how we've been crying nonstop?
You know.
Like episode 7 was just tears. Tears where your whole body is shaking. I'm imagining this is just us. What about the people who actually went through this? This episode broke me, man. And they dragged it. It's like, oh my God, is he dying? No. And then they bring another scene. You're like, oh Lord, I can't anymore.
And this is when he dies.
Yeah.
Is it not?
Yeah.
They make a call to Philomena. And Philomena has like some sort of premonition that he's going to pass.
But also she was feeling peaceful for some strange reason.
Yeah, strangely she was.
You know what I thought? They were going to fly her in.
Me too.
To kind of like be with him in his last moments.
And then they decide to take him home for his last days.
And then he finally dies.
He does. I got so pissed at him dying. Not that it's his fault. I just
like they were so full of
why?
life.
Why must he die? I was so angry on Idalia and Amahle's behalf.
Yeah.
Things like this convinced me like things like karma are not real.
So unfair. Like, why, man?
And you know the part before he dies, it's like she dozes off. And it's like, you waited for me, just like last time.
And the little girl, when they were telling her, remember when the social worker was saying, you need to let her know. And it's so interesting that when she told her, the girl was like, I know he's dying.
Yes.
And it's stressing me.
I think she kind of knew. I kind of liked how the social worker approached it. It's like you kind of always know what is happening, you know?
Oh my God, that part when she was grieving. Oh.
About 10 or 20 minutes, I don't really know what happened because I had to walk out. Like, okay, yeah, I know they were good actors in the first episodes, but to see the range. The last episode, that is episode 8. The opening scene of this episode, I could not stay for this part. Tissues didn't work. I had to use a fabric. The sisterhood, when she was grieving, I loved watching that. They were crying, laughing. We were also crying, laughing when she said, "You stink." This is triggering if you've just recently gone through grieving, maybe.
Yeah. It must have been heavy. It's like reliving memories.
You know.
Before Lino died, he made her promise that she should take his ashes back home to Sicily. Most of the last episode is her going back to his home.
Yeah.
Not even going back. That is actually the first time she goes home.
They never went back together to his home. They've been to Sicily, not his home though.
So she goes with a baby girl. And then remember the part where she met the mayor and he's like, we're actually 516.
Yeah, and he knows all the births and deaths on his hands.
It's really a small town. And
Very
it makes so
small.
much sense because, like all the people, it's like when one car passes by the village, all of you gather because it's like
And
one
like-
car in a week.
Yeah, spectacle.
Because everybody gathered. Oh my God.
when she was getting out of the car. Oh
and
my
Philomena
God.
was getting the box. That was so sad. And then remember the part where they entered the house and Philomena was wailing.
Oh my God. The wailing.
Yeah.
You know about where she said, come and sit next to me. It really gave like something my grandmother would do.
No, you're crying. You're going to make me cry. Then all of us are going to be crying. What is this? Oh my God.
But I think towards the end of this episode, we see again, that focus on family and community. Towards the end, Philomena says, this is where my clothes are for when I die. This is what. And then she was like, why are you telling me this? Because all my daughters know where these stuff are.
This is your home too. You are my child.
I really love the way they took care or they accepted and enveloped Idalia in love, even in Italy. Because Philomena kept saying, this is my grandchild. Can that pass where we come from? Adoption. One thing we wanted to talk about for this episode, right? We're dropping so much tears. If we sound like our noses are blocked, it's because of that. So we're going to end this very soon because I can't anymore. We wanted to talk about how they portrayed Italy and the people.
So we realized that the two cultures meeting, so the African Americans, later on, she invited her family to come to the village, not
Yes.
village, to the community.
Because there was some reluctance, on her end. It's here when she learns. It's also here when you see that Philomena actually communicates like her husband. Because she just sends her to the lawyer. And it's at the lawyer's place when she realizes the property and everything that Giacomo had passed down to Lino. And it's now passing down to her as Lino's wife. And she is... I would be shocked too. I'll be like, what the hell am I going to do with this? Imagine, Philomena doesn't own that. Biaggia does not.
Her children
Do not. It goes to Lino because he's the son. And now it's hers. And
Yeah.
she's like, what the hell am I supposed to do with this? And I think also being back there is a lot for her because it reminds her of Lino. But then, seeing her daughter playing with her,
her cousins.
it was a beautiful sight.
Yeah,
it
was
really was.
nice. And the gossiping community. Oh my God. But you know what? There's one thing we noticed. I don't know if it was
Yes.
intentional.
I
But
think it was. These are people she calls family. They had, knowing that they're behind the scenes, overseeing how this story is being told. It makes sense why you would want your family and community to be portrayed as people. The tone of how Italy and Italians was done, like how portrayed in this show, is so different
to the
way we normally see Americans portraying Italians.
and even the Americans themselves. It's like there's this thing that we noticed in a lot of American movies, visiting communities that are not their own.
Yes.
There's a sense of entitlement.
An air of exceptionalism, like we're Americans. The sentiment is very, like, you can see it. And it comes across even in their art. TV, film, it comes across. Even in books and it comes across, to be honest.
So like one of the reasons in the beginning, I'm going to be honest, I was like, another American movie about Italy. Here we go again. I was pleasantly surprised because we didn't see any of this in this show. It's like
they were treated with
dignity.
I didn't see like, these are weird Italians with weird customs. No, I see Giacomo as a father Giacomo with traditions that they have just like anybody else. I see Biaggia as a sister. I see their nosy neighbors. Because, for Americans, there's usually two things they do. If it's something in Europe, they either romanticize or they fall into stereotypes. If it's in the global south, let's say it's India, it's somewhere in Africa, it's somewhere in Asia, you all turn yellow. And there's very few projects that treat the people in these places as humans, not like just spectacles.
Like, not once did we think, oh, these are Americans. No, it was more of, wow, this is a family coming together.
Meet. Yes.
Because even
yes, I felt this is a family coming to meet another family.
Even the part, remember where the mother said, I'm going to cook for you, welcome to my home.
Yes.
And everybody was chipping in. People were cutting veggies.
Oh my
people
God.
were peeling stuff. People were doing all of the things. It was such a beautiful sight to watch. Because,
I wish Lino was there to see that.
That would make him... that's what he wanted. Because I think he saw the love that Amy's family was able to extend towards him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, I would assume that deep down you would also want the same from your family.
Yes.
And even when they lived together in LA, that short period when they came to visit, it was never like, these are Italians, we're Americans. It was more of like, this is a full house.
You know what? I'm even actually going to say this.
Mm-hmm.
It's very hard for films or projects or, art with interracial relationships to feel this seamless. It's not like, oh, he's Italian. Oh, she's a black woman. Look here, they're together. I kind of forgot that by episode 2.
Yeah. I commend everyone who was involved in this project.
I really loved how they treated this as, the human experience. It was a story of a family, of people. They did it so well. I stopped seeing
it as people acting.
Yes, I even stopped seeing this is a story about some interracial couple, because that's always my gripe. I'm always like, oh my God, do they have character outside? She's black, he's white. When you pass, I believe that you go at peace much more when you know that you've left this family that has love for each other.
I kept on thinking, why does he have to die this young? But then another part of me would be like, but he has been loved.
Some people go through life and they never experience this.
That kind of love. That is so true.
I hope he went peacefully knowing that there's love, a lot of love. He was really loved. Before we start crying
again, we're going to end this. Thank you for listening. After we watched it, we let the credits roll and we were just crying. And after crying, we sat for a few minutes and we're like, we can't really do anything else.
Disoriented, you know?
Yeah, when you're like, I need time to take this in. I can't watch anything else. I don't want to talk. Just let me be. I need to take this all in and let it process. This is one of those shows
really well.
You remember even years after years.
Oh, for sure.
You'll be like, yo, that show really hit.
You've been listening to the Two African Girls Review podcast, where we review black and brown films, TV, and more.
Don't forget to rate and share this podcast. Leave a comment on this episode and let us know what you'd like us to review next. Send us an email at twoafricangirlsreview@gmail.com. Until next time.